Hi everyone. So in this video, what I'm going to discuss a middleware function that is body parser. So initially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the body parser. So the command for installing your body parser is straightforward. That is NEM install body parser body hyphen parser. So once I'm done installing this, I can go and check in my package.json whether this package has been installed or not. So let's go and have a look. So once I'm done running this command, I'll go to package.json and I can see that all my dependencies have been installed. So that is body parser, which I have installed right now, and Express, which has been already installed. And the next one is NodeMon. So Express is again the framework which you're using, and NodeMon is again a dependency which allows you to uh, it sort of automatically runs your server. You don't need to each and every time restart your server and go and have a look. So Nodema automatically does that once you make any changes in your app, right? So now let's get back to the coding. So what I've done is I've created a application that I've created a JavaScript file that is app.js. So for this, what I've done, right now I've just made few comments, which is going to help you to do the coding so that right? Like for instance, creating a reference for Express. That is the first step which you need to follow. And then we'll be creating an instance of Express and so on. So this is again an easier way for you guys to understand how the coding works and what steps I'm performing in order to do the task. So let's start coding and I'll be answering your questions as I do the coding. Okay, so now let's start coding. So first of all, what the comments is creating a reference for Express, right? So as you know that we went to create a reference and the steps are pretty straightforward. We'll say let Express and equal to your command that is require and then the name of Express inside the bracket. Right, so this is our first step, and next thing is we are sort of creating a reference. Now we have to initialize Express. So for that we'll be creating an instance for our Express. So let's say let app equal to Express, and that's it. So this is our first step, and again I sort of follow this pattern every time whenever I do my coding in Node.js. So first of all, whatever I'm using, I sort of initialize that. Or I create a reference for that. And also the next very important thing which I do before writing the code is I write the, which port number my application is going to listen. So for now it is app.listen to port number 8080. So once you're done with this, now you can, go to the required tasks. So in this, as mentioned, we'll be implementing a body parser. And for that, I have already mentioned the comments, and let's start the coding for that now. Okay, so now we'll create a reference for our body parser. So similar to Express, we'll just write, the same pattern for creating a reference. So for creating a reference, you generally write let and then the name of that is your for your dependencies or your package, and then you write require. So this is the way in which you can you are I would say importing or using the packages. This is the way you do that. So it's again straightforward, but yeah, you need to be very mindful of the keywords which you're using. If you sort of miss out a hyphen as well, then it's gonna throw an error. So for instance, I would recommend you guys to copy this from the net so that you don't miss the spellings, because in case if I don't put this hyphen, so as you can see in body parser I have a hyphen, right? There's a hyphen between body and parser, but if I do this, it's gonna throw an error to me, right, when I run this application. But now, as I know, I've already had a look from the internet. I've just copy pasted that. Okay, so next thing, after creating a reference, now I know that I can sort of do the implementation. So again, the next step, adding body parser to this application. So as you might have seen in the previous video, I sort of mentioned that whenever you use .use function, so that is again a good way to identify that, that is a middleware. This is a middleware function, and this is uh, for now you can just remember this. I mean, I've directly again copied this from the website. This is again a standard way whenever you're using your application or your body parser. And again, there are a couple of things which we can change. So extended can be false, and there are different ways of writing this function. But for now, because we're just writing a basic application for body parser, I've just copy pasted it, and we can just assume that whenever there's an incoming request, what body parser middleware is going to do, it is going to parse the data and make it available under a property called rec.body, which is what I'm going to implement, and we'll be seeing the value of what rec.body gives to us, right? So I've also written a definition over here. I'll just highlight that, and okay, so now we have done the basic stuff for our body parser. We have added that as a middleware, and now next what I'm going to do is, before diving in directly to how body parser is going to work, there's one important thing which you need to understand over here. So you can see that the next step is to write writing a get request and post request. So before getting into that, we need to understand what exactly is get request and post request. So get request is basically used to get data from server, and for instance, files such as HTML files. So that is what your get method does. And post request is basically used to send the data from your client to the server. For instance, you have those fields like a username or password. So that is what your post request does. But now what I'm going to do is, before directly diving into body parser, what we're going to do, we'll sort of, access, or we'll send a file, or I want you to access. So whenever, okay, I'll put it this way. Whenever I'm trying to access my home page, I want a HTML file to get loaded. So I've created a HTML file over here. So whenever I run my application in my home page, I want that my get request should send, or it should get, it should send a HTML file, and it should be loaded on my application. It should get loaded on my home page. So that is what we are going to do now, right? So for that, we need to go and write a command. So we can start writing it. We'll write the request basically. So app.get, and then what we can do is we'll write the, first of all, because I've told that, I want it for the home page. So this is for my home page, and then I'm going to write the callback function, rec, response, and this is, so now I'll be writing, okay, I need to send so whenever a request comes, I want to respond it by sending a file, right? So once you're done with this, directory name plus, now because I know that, this is in my main p4 folder, so I'll just say / index.html, right? So now what I've done, whenever I'm going to run this file or this application, I'm going to run my server. What is going to happen when my root on my main page loads, it is going to grasp this page, this file, and load the content. So in order to save time, what I've done, I've written a couple of basic things over here. I'll just quickly walk through that. So this is the basic HTML file. So whenever you're writing an HTML file, it has to have HTML tags. So these are tags. So what I've done over here, I'm asking the user to input a number, and the method which I'm using is post, because what post does is it sends your data from your client to the server. So whenever you're sending a data, you need to use your post request. So I've mentioned specifically that, method is going to be post, and action, I mentioned a path name over there. So that is //. And moving forward, again, this is basic HTML syntax. You have to, you can mention whatever type you are using. Or here I mentioned number and a button for submit. So now what I'm going to do, now let's run the code. Now whatever I've written right now, my code should load index.html as a home page, right? So I'll run it and show it to you. So I'll go on the bottom. Okay, this is my another CMD. So we have multiple terminals. So this is the node one. So you can see that the benefit of node one, it automatically restarts my code whenever I make any changes or I, save anything in my application. So now what I need to do is I'll go back, and this is something which I might have done previously, but what I'll do is I'll just say this, and here you go. You can see that I'm getting the page which I've sent, right? So now if you want to just have a look, let's put some value 10,000, 1,000 and send it. So right now what you're getting, this is again a message which you're going to handle. So it says that cannot post /Monash. So now we're going to work on this, and but otherwise, if you just have a look at the page is loading perfectly fine. It is loading correctly. There's no problem with that. And if you want to make any changes in this, you can, and it is going to be reflected. So if I say provide a number between 0 to 10, it should get reflected over there. So I'll reload it. Yep, here you go. So you can see that my page is loading perfectly. So this is again what we can do using get request. Now we'll go back to post handler and understand how your request is passed. Okay, so just one more thing. So now you can see that this is my home page. Right now what I want is, I showed this previously as well. So whenever you click send, it says that cannot post this /Monash. Okay, so now what is the purpose of body parser? Now what is going to happen? I need to basically extract this value, that is 1211 or whatever value I'm entering, from this request and send it back to the client. So for this, to extract the value, I need to use body parser, or you can say I'm going to use middleware. I've implemented that. Now what I need to do is I need to basically just implement the post handler. So for that, what I'll be doing is, first of all, I'll say app.post, right? Now, because I've already given that for my post method, the action is /Monash. So I'll say /Monash, and then I'll say that, I'll write my callback function over here. That is rec, response. And so now what I want is, first of all, what I'll be doing is, let's send a response. So whenever there's a request for /Monash, I want to send a response for this request, and that response is going to be, let's just normal message, thank you for this post request. So what is happening when I am basically sending this request over here? Now you are getting a response for the request, right? But there's something which is happening in between this. So that is what what is happening between this is, I'm fetching this value. So, and how I'm fetching this value? So in order to print that, what I need to do is, as you know that body parser, I've mentioned over here, body parser middleware parses the data. So whatever data you are entering, it is going to be made available under rec.body. So in order to get that value, I'll print that request or that property. So console.log, and I'll say rec.body, right? So now what is going to happen? I'm going to fetch or retrieve the value which I am entering in my form. So how that is working, I'll just show you quickly. So you can see that, so whenever there is an incoming request, hold on. So yeah, whenever there is an incoming request, what happens? My body parser. So as we know, middleware, it intercepts all the requests, right? So whenever I have an incoming request in my application, it first of all goes or enters your body parser. You can, just try to visualize it this way. Now, in this case, my middleware is body parser. So what it does, it basically uses, or it sort of parses the data whichever is being entered, and it stores, or it sort of stores it inside a property, or inside a property that is called rec.body, or you can say that this is a way you can access the data, right? So once it passes this, and then it goes and implements the further get request or whatsoever, right? So now if you just go and have a look on this, now when I'm sending, I am now saving, or because I've printed rec.body, now I should be able to see that value being printed because I've used console.log, right? So now you can see over here that object says this because there's no object. I mean, there's that's a random value which it has picked, that is number 1211. So you can, not the random one, but which I entered. So this way you are basically retrieving the value which you have entered. So this is what your body parser does. And similarly, you can implement a couple of more functions, or I will say middleware functions such as Morgan. I'll share a few details in the comment. So I guess that's it for your middleware functions, and I'll do the further things in the next video. Thank you.